orange juice or your whiskey, whatever you drink in the morning. Today I have a coffee cup that my friend Darren Jones, who is an artist, designed, and I love it so much. Makes me happy and makes me think of him every time I drink out of it. In case you haven't noticed, I'm really into sentimental and meaningful coffee cups. And of course, I've got my coffee shirt. Coffee is a hug in a cup. So, today's video starts off with a story. I was on a hike, just kidding, it was a walk, and there were two moms with two little girls walking in front of us. And the little girls were probably about 4 and 6 or 5 and 7, somewhere in that age range. And they were both running. Well, the younger little girl came back crying to her mom, saying, "She's running faster than me and it's making me feel bad." And this was happening right in front of me. So I was so curious to see how this was going to be handled because I felt like, ooh, this is a good teaching opportunity. And I'm definitely that mom looking for good teaching opportunities. Okay, I'm that person looking for good teaching opportunities. So the first thing the mom does is call back the older girl. Calls her back by name, says, come here, and says, hey, you're making your cousin feel bad because you're running too fast. I was like, oh no, she didn't. Here we go. This is not going to go well. And luckily, that older little girl didn't listen, and she shouldn't have. We don't want to, right, make our kids feel like they can't shine or they have to hold themselves back. And she ran off again like, whatever, lady. And I then listened to this conversation for probably the next 15 minutes of this mom telling this child, "I'm so sorry. You should never have to feel bad. That's not fair that she can run faster than you. You shouldn't have to deal with that." I mean, it was pretty horrifying to listen to because of all the messages that were being given in that moment. Now, I do want to say that I understand. I have 4 children of my own, and I understand the desire to give your child sympathy and empathy in a moment that they're upset. And, to hear the little girl screaming and throwing this huge fit while the mom just over and over basically told her that she should never have to feel bad, it really made me think, and it made me wonder what was really going on here. And I finally realized that this mother was showing her daughter short-term empathy. So just in this moment, I just want you to feel better, and probably I want you to stop crying, which is completely understandable. You're in a public place. But in my opinion, it took away the long-term empathy. Maybe saying something along the lines of, "I'm sorry that you're upset, and the fact that she can run faster than you, she's older than you, and maybe you could use that as inspiration to, try even harder and run even faster. And it's okay if we don't all, run the same." And I mean, there were so many things that could have been a life lesson about how this realm we live in actually works. And instead I felt like there was all short-term empathy and no long-term empathy for teaching her daughter some things that could help her in her life and throughout her life. Now, you guys, this is not me judging some random mom, so don't worry about that. It was just an object lesson happening right in front of me. And it really made me think about, where am I doing this? Where am I choosing short-term empathy rather than taking into account how things work or how, what could benefit me over time? Almost in a way like a delayed gratification. And definitely I can see where we do it with our children. So here's an example. Let's say that your child is getting their shots at the doctor and they're screaming and you let them have a sucker while that happens and you just, want them to feel better. Okay, that's great. That's an appropriate use of short-term empathy. And if you were to do that every single day, all day, every time your kid cried, you were to hand them a sucker or some kind of sugar, that would actually be a lack of long-term empathy if it leads to, right, diabetes or, being overweight or whatever for your child. It's like, to make everything okay in the moment, are we sacrificing long-term happiness, functionality, and wellness? So where do we do this for ourselves? For me, for many years, most of my life, okay, honestly, until 6 months ago, I was a pretty big sugar addict, especially in my adult life. Do you know how many times I just wanted to feel better in the moment? I'd had a really rough day, have a donut or 3 or 7, and there's, oh, I'm sorry, self, you deserve a treat. But then long term, the effects of that were not me caring about myself and not me being good to myself. Like, I really want us all to think about this. I want us to think about the difference of short-term and long-term empathy. Now, there are times when short-term empathy is extremely important and necessary. Your child has been in an accident of some kind and they're really cut up, and you're going to stop everything you're doing and you're going to immediately love them and comfort them and clean them up and not necessarily try to teach them a life lesson unless that's very necessary and applicable. But so this is not me saying that short-term empathy is bad. This is me asking us to look at, are there ways that we can be really empathetic in the moment that will also give benefit in the long term? Because these are not mutually exclusive. So what are ways that we could be very empathetic with ourselves, like really good to ourselves, really good to our children, our spouses, our friends, our family, that don't take away from long-term wellness? To me, it's about getting creative and about asking, is there a way that I can comfort, that I can give acknowledgement that also benefits the long term? So I wonder how much that we're doing this in our society right now. How much are we maybe enabling or catering to, or, we don't want to hurt anyone's feelings and we don't want to offend or trigger anybody, but maybe that then there are things that are not being addressed or talked about or dealt with that in the long run would be very damaging to us. I'm looking for ways in my own life to combine these two things, right? Like, I want to be a kind, loving, compassionate person. And I also want to be a long-term thinker, right? To use foresight, to be honest, to be truthful. And so how to combine those things? So maybe, just to use a very simple example, if your child getting the shots, maybe holding them and loving them and whispering things in their ear rather than the sucker, that is also towards the long-term empathy and the long-term game of them knowing that they have a parent who adores them and who's there when they need them, right? And that they don't have to turn to sugar when they're hurting. This is, again, I don't want you to get distracted by thinking I'm shaming anybody or saying that's the wrong thing to do. I'm literally just looking for answers in how we can do both. We have really been taught almost like you have to choose between the two. And I just don't think that's true. So my challenge for you today would be to look at ways that you can address situations with yourself and others where what is done in the short term to help is something also that blesses your long term. May your coffee be strong and your life be blessed. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please like and subscribe. It really helps out my channel. And if you would be interested in working with me further, you can check out DawniAngel.com. I would love to come speak to your group, come to your business to do a training, be on your podcast, my personal favorite, or even work with you one-on-one.